Hello and welcome to my Conqueror's Blade video. Today we will be attempting to get a world record speedrun of this game, so sit back and enjoy while we get this show on the road. Starting off with the Sons of Fenrir as our starting unit, we will use them to push the siege tower as thanks to their strict diet of cocaine and monster energy drinks they are capable of pushing at a rate quicker than every other unit. Using their third skill to inject lethal doses of ketamine, we will enter a slipstream that should be able to shave off a couple of minutes that it would normally take us to push these, and reach the walls much quicker than everyone else. Excellent. As I was preparing to strut my stuff up on the walls, I notice an enemy warlord standing right outside of the front gate. So I call upon my crack babies and capitalize on the opportunity. And unfortunately for this guy, his monks are no match for my furries with a fury as I charge them in and order them to nuzzle the cudgels to submission. Jumping in to help finish the job and bury the creep who let us in the keep 6 feet deep. With the front entrance ours, it should be much easier for us to overwhelm and take over the point. Noticing another warlord who seems to be AFK, I contemplate for a bit and ultimately decide that going after them wasn't going to be worth it due to the sun's ability still being on cooldown. As we make way up the stairs, an enemy mole takes notice of my flanking efforts, and with little time to lose, I send my crack babies to try and cause as much damage to these enemy namcans, which is unfortunately actually not a single one of them. Making a tactical retreat, to shit. Using my instant transmission ability, I was able to safely retreat outside and bring in a unit of Imperial Pike Guards while I was at it. Pushing by ourselves would be a risky strategy. So I opt to try and make a push with my teammates along the walls, and unfortunately due to the Sons of Fenrir consuming all of the spare cocaine we had on hand, these units are unbearably slow to try and keep up with me. So we will need to try and wipe out as many units with what we have on hand and hope for it to be enough. As it so happens to be due to the entire defense from the enemy team being a squad of peasants with sharp sticks. Finally, as my unit reaches the wall, we can set up for the point and get a free capture. Here is a quick tip for everyone who uses pike/shield units. Try and place them in a line outside of the capture circle to prevent the enemy warlords from trying to kamikaze and delay the capture. If you just have them standing in a Sheltron formation on top of the point, then you accomplish absolutely nothing in stopping them. Now with the pointers, we are able to move in with the team to keep this successful push going and use our momentum to try and overwhelm the enemy team before they have a chance to set up their defenses. I consider blocking their way from the supply line for a moment, but end up deciding that the rest could hold them off as I could use my units to try and block the path leading from their base. This would be two mistakes on my part. The first would be trying to have my asthmatic units do cross-country, as half the unit will die just trying to waddle onto the point. And the other is thinking that my teammates would be capable of not fucking up. And for my hubris, I get jumped by a unit of berserkers from behind and trying to salvage this situation. Shit goes from bad to worse as oh no. Thankfully being a premium user allows me to use a free death skip so we can get right back into the fight without losing too much time on the clock. Bringing in my fusiliers and following these horse boys up to the B point. We should have a fairly free capture on our hands as their charge will wipe anything off of the point and my gunner's able to clean up any stragglers. Although the enemy has a unit of Brachios, they get taken out of their bracing formation and allows me to use my ultimate ability to break their little piss pit and allow our team to wipe them out without issue. I place my fusiliers in that little crevice to protect them from incoming enemy attacks, hoping it would be enough to cover them from archers and even cavalry from the side. I notice a dual blades player picking on someone and never backing down from an opportunity to get a kill on these players. I send the Kirito wannabe to the grave while unfortunately being unable to save my ally. Remember when I said about being able to protect my units from cavalry attacks coming from the sides? Well, this time they had decided to come straight for the front as I die to yet another jump scare. This is getting really old. Back at it again with the Italian-American mechanics that I recruited from Brooklyn. We make our way back to the B point for a round 2 on these gobbles and waste no time diving straight onto the point to try and get this capture, having no shield units to block the gateway. I will tactically use my Martellatori to block the choke point and hope that the oil from their hair will be capable of slowing down the advancing pike guards. Although they were able to get off their march and wipe out most of my remaining units, a charge from the Sabaton fans managed to wipe them off for good and give the capture to us. Following my team as I notice them making their way to the supply point, I take a notice to this one guy who deviates from the squad to go after that lone warlord and thinking that it would look good in a montage. I chase after the kill as well as this threesome turns into a gangbang to leave this pike satisfied. I could tell these coomers could go for another round, so I decide to follow them in search of more booty to plunder. Cutting off to the supply point, and try and incapacitate the enemy's reinforcement line, we take on these monastic white knights and wrestle with this mall for a few seconds before immediately getting jumped by a damn dual blade player. I swear to fucking god, using a glitch to transpose myself into a different match before the dual blade could kill me. It seems that luckily these other players made their push to the enemy base already, and after bribing some my game staff, I was able to bring back my crack babies from the dead to facilitate this effort. But still, with this being a quick match, every player on my team brings in ranged units to the last point, which I will need to buckle my big boy pants and dive in alone to fight the other team off. Charging the sons of Conqueror as soon as they get into range, the fight for the speedrun begins as two fellow players on my team, moved by my bravery to charge and follow into battle, and what was supposed to be a bitter battle for control turns into pest control as all of them proceed to drop like flies to my forces of crack addicts. Unfortunately for me, the sons aren't meant for prolonged combat as they gradually get wiped out and my health dips below half. Knowing of this little secret hidey hole, I slip past the crack and heal myself back to get on track for the attack. Yet we're not out of the clear just yet, as only a lone friendly unit stands on the point and fights tooth and nail to try and hold their position, while our entire forces sits at the back and does absolutely nothing productive. Finally realizing how to press V to attack, our reinforcements arrive, and we manage to turn this one into a W. And time. That is how you accomplish a Conqueror's Blade speedrun. I hope you all enjoyed watching this video, and would consider slapping a like and subscribe to help support the channel.